Hi there, my name is Sam and I am the Outreach Coordinator for Futures Forward. Today we will be discussing all the ins and outs of different scholarships and bursaries that are out there so that you can apply for funding options to pay for tuition when you're ready to go into post-secondary. Before I begin, I do want to make a land acknowledgement as this workshop is being recorded from the Treaty 1 territory on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dene, and Dakota peoples, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. I'll just go over some of the areas that we'll be talking about today. Firstly, looking at the different awards that are out there that you can apply to, such as the scholarships, bursaries, grants, and looking at the differences between them. We'll also have some guest speakers as well, which are Marie from Voices and Shirley from MMF, and they will share their experiences when they applied for the different scholarships and bursaries. We'll look at some tips, tricks, and challenges when applying. We'll also view some different resources of the scholarships, bursaries, and grants that are available. And we'll also look at how to create a master essay, because when you are filling out those different applications, sometimes the requirements may include you to write an essay in order to apply. And when you do create a master essay, it makes the application time a lot shorter, as those essays have very similar topics. At the end, I will post all of the contact information, so if ever you have any questions or concerns, you can definitely reach out to us at Futures Forward or Marie or Shirley to ask any questions that you have. So let's first look at the different scholarships, bursaries, and awards. Essentially, what are they? So when you're starting your post-secondary journey, one of the things you may worry about is tuition. And what tuition means is they're the fees that are charged by the educational institution. So pretty much how much your program is going to cost, or how much the course at the university is going to cost. That is tuition. Unfortunately, attending college, university, or any kind of post-secondary institution will cost money, and it can be a financial burden. So we will look at those different funding options that students can apply to that can potentially alleviate some of the costs when going back to school. And these can be in the form of different scholarships, bursaries, grants, awards, sponsorships, loans. There's many different areas where you can pay for your school as opposed to out of pocket. So let's look at these different terms and distinguish what are the differences. So when we're first looking at scholarships, what they are, they're pretty much awarded funds that you would apply to that can pay for your tuition, books, and or living expenses. They tend to be based on merit, such as academic achievements, community involvement, volunteer work, athletic ability, or any kind of extracurricular activity. So with scholarships, they're pretty much an application process for you to apply. Usually with these scholarships, they have a set amount of money that you could be awarded, and it would go directly towards your tuition. That can include your books and your supplies, that kind of thing. With bursaries and grants, they are also awarded funds that you can apply to that can go towards your tuition, books, supplies, living expenses, that kind of thing. They also are a type of scholarship that can focus on academic achievement, community involvement, etc., but they also consider other factors such as financial need. So with scholarships, they can be more focused towards academic achievements, any volunteering you've done, extracurriculars, those kind of things. But with bursaries, they can focus more on financial need on top of the other focuses as well, academic achievement, community involvement, that kind of thing. With sponsorships, these are funds given by an organization, such as a First Nations band or MMF or the Manitoba government. So it is an application process that you do apply to, and then they could essentially pay for the whole program or partial coverage of your tuition, that kind of thing. So certain requirements are needed in order to apply. This can include status, demonstrated financial need, etc. So it all depends on the organization and all their different requirements on how to apply. And a sponsorship can also cover various areas, including tuition, books, and living costs. So with sponsorships, on top of tuition, they can also cover other expenses as well, which can include your rent, groceries, childcare if you have dependents and you need that extra fund to pay for a sitter, anything like that. A sponsorship can also cover those areas. A student loan are funds that are borrowed from the government, for example, Manitoba Student Aid, or a bank, and they would pay for your tuition. But you do have to pay those funds back after you've completed school. So when we're looking at scholarships, bursaries, sponsorships, you do not have to pay those funds back. But if you're looking at a student loan, it is something that you borrow. So once you have completed school, you do have to give those funds back with interest. They usually require you to share details of your academic and financial history, as well as some financial information from a parent or guardian. So say if you are under 18, still living with your parents, and you're not the main financial person in your home, then they may a loan may need their information as well. They also need to see proof that you are enrolled in school or going to be attending school in the future. But with student loans, because it is just a loan, they are looking to have more information about you, so that when you are completed school or when you have completed school, you would have to start paying those loans back. Awards are funds given by an institution, for example, a school, your program, etc., for student academic achievement, community involvement, etc. But these can be awarded at the end of a school year, like a high school graduation, or after registration to a post-secondary institution, for example, an entrance award. Application processes are not necessarily needed when you are receiving an award. So think back when you are graduating from high school, and at the ceremony you end up receiving an award with a fund that can go towards your tuition, so that kind of thing. Or if you apply early enough to school, you could be entered to receive an entrance award from that university or college. And these can be based on your academic achievements or any of those extracurriculars that you've done. They also have different types of awards. So they have an internal award, which is offered by your college or university through the financial aid department. You should always check your institution's website for more information. And they also have extended awards, or external awards, that offer outside the institution through various organizations, foundations, and bodies. If you check out scholarshipcanada.com, it's a great database to explore those different kinds of award options. Some last minute things to think about. You like I said before, you do not have to pay back any scholarships, sponsorships, bursaries, awards, or grants. Okay, so those things are given to you, and they're awarded for you for your studies, so you do not have to pay those back. But you do have to pay back those student loans or those bank loans. So just make note of that, and make sure that you're able to pay back those different loans, because they can pile up, especially with interest. Usually, all options require an application to fill out. So if you are planning to apply to a whole bunch of different scholarships and bursaries to pay for your tuition, just be sure that it is going to be a lot of filling out those applications, right? Putting in your name, your general information, stuff about school. They might need a transcript. So with that, it can be very time consuming. So make sure to put aside some time to write these applications. Limited awards are given out, so unfortunately, you may not receive funds. So with different kind of scholarships and bursaries that you apply to, sometimes you may not be awarded one. So when you're looking at a scholarship, they could only offer one to a student, or they can offer maybe 10 awards, or yeah, 10 different scholarships or awards. But then they could have hundreds and hundreds of applicants, right? So that's why it's always encouraged to apply to as many as you can, so that you can have a chance of receiving a scholarship, right? Because unfortunately, depending on which scholarship you apply to, there might not be enough awards to hand out to everyone, right? So it's a big process when you want to apply to different scholarships. Always start applying early to these different scholarships and awards, because you want to have all these funds for you before you start school and have to pay for your tuition. So, and usually when you are going into a college program, they may require you to pay for your tuition before classes start as well. So it's always good to start applying to these different scholarships beforehand, and always start looking early. Make sure to keep track of all the applications you do fill out, just so that you're not filling out the same application twice, right? You're saving a lot of time by doing that as well. And it's also good to keep note of which ones to follow up on, even just which ones you've actually filled out an application for. And it's good, it's kind of neat to see how many of those applications you have applied to for those different scholarships and bursaries. So it's good to keep track of those different applications.
So up next is we've got Marie, and I feel like Marie, I spelled your last name wrong, so I'm sorry. And Shirley, both are alumni from CARE, so they both were in foster care as well, and have found ways to fund their post-secondary education through the variety of different ways that Sam just mentioned. And so I will let my two buddies here take it away. I'm sure you guys said you were talking before, so I'm sure you figured out who's talking first and doing all that. No?
We always remember to unmute ourselves, and we always figure out everything on the fly. I mean,
okay,
way beforehand.
I love it. Let's go.
Well, Shirley, you want to go first? Yeah?
I will go first then. So my name is Shirley Delorme Russell, and that tells you quite a lot about who I am. Shirley tells you I was born in the 1900s. Actually, in the 1970s, when there was a show on TV called Laverne and Shirley. My whole life growing up, people asked me where Laverne was, probably till I was like 10 or something. So that tells you I was born in the 70s, in the 1900s. Delorme tells you that I'm Métis. My mom is Métis from the Red River Valley. I'm very proud to be a proud Métis woman. And Russell tells you that my Ojibwe father was colonized, because Russell is a very, very English name. But in my family, Russell is my Ojibwe name. So my mom is Métis and my dad is a Russell. My dad's Ojibwe and he's the Russell. So I just want to share my screen, and I'm going to share this screen. I saw this just today. And because I am, my teachings taught me that the moon is my grandmother. The grandmother moon says, does not matter how much you show, how whole you are. It doesn't matter if you've got craters in you. You shine, baby, you shine. Okay? And then I was in foster care growing up. This is my family. or parts of my family. Not all my siblings were born yet. And my parents did the best they could with what they had, but you can tell by these very 1900 photos, they did the best with what they had, but it wasn't always a safe place to be. So the government decided that I needed a safer place to be, but this is my family. And then the last one, this is my other family. You see those guys there? Those are 4 former youth in care. Every single person in that picture was in foster care growing up. Every single person in that picture is a crazy advocate for foster kids today. So that is my family. So I just wanted to introduce myself that way, and now I'll give back the sharing rights to Futures Forward. So the only reason I didn't go to university straight after high school, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I was going to Kelvin and I graduated in 94. And I wanted to be a teacher, but I was in foster care. And that was just it. In the 90s, it was still, hey, you're 18, or hey, you graduated. Because my birthday is not actually till after grad. They're like, hey, you graduated. Nice to know you. Have a nice life. So because there was no one, my parents had already moved to Ontario. And my foster parent said, you know, have a nice life. I've kept you safe, but off you go on your own, little bird. There was no money for school. So I went to work. And by the time I was ready for school, it was the 2000s and the internet had been invented. And with the invention of the internet, I learned how to use Google. And I literally Googled money for school. And I applied for my first year of school. I applied for 37 awards. I only got 2, but one was 1250 from Red River College. I was a student there. Can't remember what the award was for, but I was a student there and I got it. And the other one was through Voices, Manitoba's Youth and Care Network, the P.D. Curry Memorial Award. Those 2 awards, they were both $12.50. They paid for school that year. And I applied for them again every single year. So even though I only got 2 awards, it paid for school. And the total of, what's $12.50 and $12.50? $2,500. $2,500, even if I was giving myself $10 an hour, that's 25 hours. I didn't put in 25 hours into my scholarship. So I got paid more than $10 an hour and I didn't have to pay it back. Okay. So for every other year, my whole degree was 5 years. I applied for every single award I was eligible for. Every award. I used every scholarship. I am Métis, so I had no idea what the Manitoba Métis Federation had, but I called them. And Voices, where Marie is from, I said, what else do you have? And they sent me all these things. And I went to my school's financial aid office and I looked on the wall. They didn't have a website yet. It was the early 2000s. Okay. And I looked on the wall and what else do you have? And I applied for every single thing, even if there was an award of 1 award, you know, for out of 10,000 applicants or something. I applied because I didn't know what I would get and what I wouldn't get. And my first year, I also applied for a student loan. And I was so nervous about student loans. I did not want to owe $10 gajillion. And quite seriously, one of my friends who has the same 5-year degree owed more than that. She got $10,000 a year. She owed $50,000 in student loans when she was done. So I was so scared of them. So I got a $9,000 loan and I just applied for everything. So second year, third year, my third year was the craziest. The third year I applied for and I got $10,000 worth of scholarships that year. So I was able to use that for school. My kids were little guys. My kids were 2 and 4. So I was able to pay for daycare. I was able to pay for rent, all that kind of stuff. And none of them had to be paid back. I applied for every single thing on the planet, but these are some specific ones I want to tell you about that I got. So through Voices, Manitoba's Youth and Care Network, for youth in or from foster care, I got one called the P.D. Curry, one called the Keith Cooper, and one called the Ken Dryden. And one of the things is that scholarships beget scholarships. So if you get one, you have a better chance of getting the next one because you know how to write applications and you know how to do it. And people who are looking at your application the second time are like, oh, that person already got the one last year. That means that people already know how good they are. Okay. Some external awards I got were the Helen Betty Osborne Memorial Foundation Award. I'm sorry, I forgot his name and I feel badly because he gave all this money for students like me, but a former guidance counselor from Gordon Bell had a fund and I got his award one year. I got an award from an organization called the Canada Millennium Foundation and an award or multiple awards from Inspire. So that's a good one for you guys to look up. IND, like Indigenous Inspiration, Inspire. Okay, that was a cool one. And then I got every single internal award I could. So I got ones from Red River College. When I was at the when I was at the University of Winnipeg, I applied for the Louis Riel bursary. And it was during my apply for every single thing on the planet, but I got hooked up with the Louis Riel Institute. So the Louis Riel Institute is the educational authority of the Manitoba Métis Federation. And they said, you're really good at this. You should just come work for us. We have to administer a bunch of scholarships. You could just do that. And so I got really good at helping students figure out how to apply and how to keep your stuff organized and how to sort them and how to save your files electronically. So like really, I graduated not 21 years ago. I graduated in 2010 and I still have all my files because like I needed them to be organized. I actually, for real too, kept all my paper copies in a tote bag in my closet. That tote bag was, because I didn't have a filing cabinet, was all my scholarship and bursary stuff. So when I graduated in 2010 with my education degree, I owed $9,000 to student loans and enormous amounts of thanks to $50,000 worth of other people. So I have no problem helping you. If you need help, I have no problem answering questions. And I work at the Louis Riel Institute now, but it's not my job to do scholarships and bursaries anymore. But the Manitoba Métis Federation does give out whacks of money right now to Métis students. So I can help lead you to that direction too. So thank you. Marie, all you now.
Cool. Sam, if you can allow me to share the screen as well. I won't need it right away, so there's no rush, but at the end, I'll show a slide. It's really nice to be here talking with you guys. Believe it or not, I think this might be the first time I've ever been asked to just talk about my academic journey and scholarships and such. So this is kind of neat. So I too, just like Shirley, I attended Kelvin High School. I graduated in 1998. And I was super shy in school. Grade 10 and 11, I was so introverted. The only thing I joined was choir. It was my safe place. I loved choir. In 12th grade, I finally decided, okay, this is it. I need to have the high school experience. And I tried out for different things and tried to get more involved. I did scorekeeping for volleyball and basketball. I tried playing football. I don't even know what direction to run in when someone gives you the ball, so that did not work out. All that to say, at the end of the school year, for some reason, I was awarded the Teacher's Choice Award, and it was a $500 scholarship, just kind of an acknowledgement that, or what the teacher who presented it said, Miss Maddox, she said, this girl knows how to take life's lemons and make lemonade. And so I took this $500 and I used it for school. So, 17 turning 18, went into the University of Winnipeg, wanted to be an English teacher. and really enjoyed classes, but I really did not have good work ethic. I was so caught up in trying to have a like a TV version of a university experience, joining things and mostly not doing any homework. And then a year after, my nephews went into care, and I just did not want that for them. Having had my own experience and knowing the outcome of having all of my siblings separated into different homes, I was like, well, let me at least keep 2 of them together. So 2 of them came to live with me. And at the time, the agency said, oh, don't worry about it. We're going to pay for school for you. You can keep going to school. We'll set the kids up in daycare. No problem. You'll be able to go to school. No. I kept going to school, but if you look at my transcripts, you will quickly agree with me that I should just have let it go. But I tried. I kept going. I did well in some classes, but for the most part, I was struggling. I had to do a couple voluntary withdrawals and whatever else. But this was, around the time that I applied for one of the first large youth and care scholarships that I had heard of, the Ken Dryden. And at the time, I was working at the advocate's office. Because the agency had kind of gone back on all their promises, I had gone into the children's advocate to ask for help, and they said, we can't help you too much. The file is already closed, but how about you come work for us? So I was working for them, and through that, I learned about the Ken Dryden Scholarship. I applied, and one day when I was at work, I answered the phone, and this deep voice said, hello, Marie Christian. I'm like, yes, like, this is Ken Dryden. I am going to pay for school. Or I can't remember the words he used specifically, but he used to take the time to call all of the scholarship recipients. And, while you're gasping for breath, trying to like wrap your head around who you're speaking to, and the fact that you've been awarded $4,000 for 4 years, he then leaves you his phone number and his work phone number and his assistant's phone number and says, call anytime. So, I kept trying to go to school. Having this scholarship made me think like, well, I can't give up now. I have to keep going. But I didn't do very well. I ended up dropping out of school. And let me tell you, so that must have been 2001 or 2. I wasn't able to go back to school until I was 35, so 2015. So it took me 17 years to finish my Bachelor of Arts. And I was so embarrassed that I let down Mr. Dryden. But when we had a chance to meet with him, he came to Winnipeg and met with some of the other scholarship students in youth and care. He was so understanding and so kind, and he was like, no, you're good. He's so encouraging. So let me just say that if your education journey doesn't pan out as a straight line as you hope it would be, don't let that bring you down or discourage you from applying for awards. Your story is your kryptonite. Or not your kryptonite, but your whatever gives you power. Your story is your secret power. So, and always know and understand that most people would get it. If you tell them I started school at one point, but life happens and I couldn't finish at that time, they'll understand. No one's going to hold that against you. But my experience with Mr. Dryden kind of set the tone for how we do scholarships at Voices. So now whenever we have the chance to call scholars and tell them that we're going to award them a scholarship, we just kind of enjoy making it a surprise or making it kind of a joke to kind of just, make it a memorable occasion. So throughout my years of trying and failing and finally graduating from school, I applied for a few emergency bursaries at your school. Especially now during COVID, your school might have some emergency bursaries just to help with groceries or books or rent. Don't be ashamed to apply for them. They're there to help. I also wanted to some points I wanted to really emphasize. Check the websites of places that are relevant to you specifically. So for me, I'm a Black woman. If I put in there scholarships for Black women, stuff will pop up. If I put in scholarship for single parents, scholarships for social work, scholarships for people who love music, scholarships for people of my faith, different awards will pop up that are relevant to your experience. If you really like Kellogg's, you eat a lot of their cereal, go to their site. They might have a contest for $500 if you explain why Kellogg's cereal are so great. So whatever is true to your story and true to who you are, true to where you come from, go for it. Just look it up. You might be surprised on who is willing to support you based on who you are, who you identify as. Also, I'm really glad things have changed. With the student loans, that they make it easier for young people from CARE, because I remember wrestling with that question and having them call back and say, what do you mean your parents aren't going to pay for you? Like, I don't have parents. So I'm glad that they've gotten over that finally. It's not like child welfare just started, but okay. And then also schools often have a payment plan. So if you're a little bit worried, talk to your school accounting office. You might be able to make a payment plan. That's how I paid for my BSW. I had to work while I was going to school. So every paycheck I put some onto my tuition and was able to pay for school that way. Two more things. Applying. So if you're like me, memory. I have a very poor memory. So when I'm doing all this searching online, I'll find a great scholarship, but the application is only available during October to December. Write it on your calendar. Write just a little reminder to yourself. Remember, the Seroptimist Women's Award is available October to November. And then when you flip your calendar to October, the reminder will be there. So make little reminders for yourself. And even if you're vaguely eligible for something, you may not be studying international development, but there's an aspect of what they're asking for that you kind of fall under, apply for it. There are so many awards that don't get applied for or don't get claimed. So go for it. And then finally, I wanted to say the quality of your references really makes a big impact. So I'm really proud to say this year I asked Shirley to write a letter of reference for me. I was applying for the Elizabeth Hill Scholarship for MSW students, and it was specifically geared towards working with Indigenous kids on mental health. And like I said, actually the award is primarily meant for Indigenous people, but even if you're not, if you're going to be working with Indigenous people, then you can, like I said, you kind of see if you fit in there. And I'm so thankful for Shirley because she wrote an incredible reference letter, super detailed, like I had to frame it. It's so beautiful. And I won. This is the largest scholarship that I've ever won, and it's just over $7,000. And so that will really help pay for my master's. So when it comes to references, choose people who know you and who understand who you are and who understand your journey. And also don't be afraid to help them. A few of our scholarship students at Voices, they would ask for a reference letter and then they would send over a list of their accomplishments, things that I may not have known about. One of our guys, he would just sit down with whoever was writing the reference and like just talk them through, this is what I've done, this is what I like. Don't be afraid to help the person who's writing you that letter of reference. Obviously, they care about you, they want to write the reference, and you providing information helps them write it even better. And then with your references, I think this will go with the conversation about writing a master essay. Ask your references if they wouldn't mind giving you a copy that you can change who the letter is going to and the date. And just remember to ask I like to ask the person like, hey, I'm submitting this, do you mind? they will say yes because they gave you an editable version, but it's still good to like give them a heads up that you're putting their letter out there again. So very, very quickly, I just want to show you guys. These are our scholarships for this year. This is the Voices newsletter. It was just finished today and will be sent out this week. If you're not on our email list, just send me an email and we'll make sure you get a copy. But this year we have 5 scholarships through Voices. And Voices is the Youth in Care Network. It's for youth, driven by youth. All of our awards are open to all young people from care. No age limit, just apply. We have the Voices Bursary, which is funded by Voices members. When we do fundraising, when we sell those hot dogs, when young people come back and say, here's a jar full of pennies, that's where that goes. So that's 2 awards of $1,000. We have the Lemonade Award. Remember, I told you guys that story of when I graduated and what the teacher said. So when I was given the opportunity to start an award in my name, I chose to call it the Lemonade Award. And this year it's 2 awards of $1,000. We have the $500 scholarship funded by the Philanthropic Education Organization and a $1,000 scholarship funded by the Child and Youth Care Workers Association. And this year we were given a generous grant to be able to award 5 $4,000 scholarships. And it's funded by the North Pine Foundation. They let us choose the name. So we are calling the scholarship the Kuwaitin Scholarship. And Kuwaitin is the Cree word for North Star. And it's really important that you identify your North Star to give you direction and help you find your path in life. So with that, I hand it over to our hosts. And if you have any questions, you know you can talk to me anytime.
Well, I raise my hands to both of you for what you offered, your stories, your inspiration. I'm not even applying for scholarships and bursaries, but I feel so motivated. And it's interesting that you guys brought up the Dryden Scholarship because when I was in post-secondary school, it was right around the same time. Ironically, if I had stayed in Winnipeg and not moved to BC, I would have graduated from Kelvin High School in 1999. So I don't know what it is about foster kids in that school, but anyway, I applied for the Dryden Scholarship and I didn't get it. And I had a typical foster kid experience, which was like, they've rejected me. And so I'm never going to apply for another scholarship and bursary again because I felt hurt. And hearing your stories and your inspiration, I wish I had that auntie back then to be like, you got this, you keep going. One isn't going to be the only answer. And so I really appreciate the stories and the knowledge that you shared. And congratulations, Voices, on that new scholarship. I love it. So
thank you. And I just want to quickly say, we had another one of our Voices scholars who, like you, applied for the Dryden and didn't get it. And I think she applied 2 years in a row, didn't get it. Now this girl is impressive. Like her whole family was a sibling group. They're all impressive kids. So we couldn't figure out what was the barrier between her and the scholarship.
Yeah.
And so finally, I just said, you need to maybe make it a video because on paper, your reading is perfect. But in video, you're able to just tell them your story, tell them who you are. And that worked. So like Shirley said, the more you apply for things, kind of the better you get at telling your story. And that doesn't mean you have to tell your deepest secrets in your application. No one deserves your whole story if you don't want to share it. Mm-hmm. But there are different ways to make yourself relatable so that they see.
And we're gonna get into some of those. Thank you, Marie.
The next presentation in our workshop will be focusing on tips, tricks, and challenges when you are filling out those applications for the different scholarships and bursaries available. I want to make note of the scholarship that we will be using as an example throughout this presentation. It is the Voices Manitoba Scholarship, available for those students who have been in CFS Care or are currently in CFS Care, you can find this application at voices.mb.ca. I just do want to note that every scholarship and bursary application is different, so make sure to read every detail before filling out these different applications. So when you are wanting to apply to a specific bursary or scholarship, they will have an information page that you should read thoroughly before filling out the application, very similar to the one shown on your screen. We're going into our first tip, which is to remember to download those applications before filling it in. With those different bursary and scholarship applications, sometimes they are fillable through the website. Sometimes they are a downloadable PDF that you need to fill in and submit. Specific to this Voices Manitoba Scholarship, you do have to download the application before filling it in, or before filling in all your information. If you don't do this and you start filling in the information before downloading it, then nothing will be saved. So be sure to download that application first, save it in your documents or save it on your computer, on your hard drive, so that when you do fill it in, all the information is there. Tip number 2 is to gather all required documents first before applying. So even before filling out that application, again, refer to that information page, look at the different requirements, and note of what documents are needed along with the application. So with this Voices Manitoba Scholarship, you must include 2 letters of reference, your most recent school transcript, proof of registration or applications to the college, university, or program that you've applied to, and a personal essay response. So it's really good to have all these documents first before filling out the application, because you need to submit everything all at once. So having the documents with you before filling out the application just ensures that you have everything that is needed, and it will eliminate the possibility of your application being disqualified. So always have all those different documents before even applying before filling out the application. Tip number 3 is to always pay attention to when the application is due, noting the specific time to submit. So with the Voices Manitoba Scholarship, the application is due on Sunday, August 15th, 2021 at 11:59 p.m. So any applications that are submitted after this date and after this time will not be included. So it will automatically be disqualified. Because there are lots of students applying to these different scholarships. So if you're not able to read those instructions thoroughly and submit your application before that due date, then you won't be considered for that scholarship. So make note of those different due dates, put an alarm in your phone, that sort of thing, so that you know that that specific application is due at that time. Tip number 4 is to have a master essay on hand where you can slightly alter to accommodate to what the application is needing. Usually when you are applying to different scholarships, bursaries, sponsorships, grants, whatever, it does require an essay of some sort. So having a master essay on hand will definitely cut down on the time needed to fill out these applications. With these essays, they tend to have a very similar theme for it. Usually, what are your career goals? general information about yourself, what are you taking in school. If you have a master essay, you can always slightly alter it to so that it suits every application, right? So definitely will cut down on time. It's always good to have, and you would be able to add to it, pull things out, add things in, that kind of thing. Tip number 5 is to always save your work and keep a copy for yourself. So if any reason the application gets lost or they didn't receive it, then you would always have something on hand so that you can submit it again. And it's always good to note all the different scholarships, bursaries that you've applied to, so that you can do a follow-up on the application, see if they received it, when you'll hear back, those kind of things, and just having all that general information on you. Tip number 6 is to find a contact and ask questions if you are having trouble with the application. So if ever you have any questions about a specific application, there you want to get a little bit more detail, it's always good to look for those contacts, a phone number or an email, so that you can give them a call, send them an email with those different questions that you have. Usually they're located at the bottom of the information page of the application. With the Voices Manitoba Scholarship, you can always email ask@voices.mv.ca, and then there you'll be able to ask some certain questions you have. Last minute tips to think about when applying to different scholarships. Make sure you are eligible to apply to a scholarship. So that's why it's very important to read the details of the application first before even filling it out, because if you're putting in all of that time, submitting all the required documents, gathering all that information to find out you don't even qualify for the scholarship, is just a lot of wasted time that could be spent on another application that you do qualify for. So that's why it's really important to read the description of the application. Seek out info sessions and tutorials on how to properly apply. For example, Futures Forward has many info sessions for the Advancing Futures Bursary we have, as well as the tuition waiver program. It just ensures that you're going to fill out the application properly, and you're not missing out on any kind of details that are needed so that your application doesn't get disqualified. Other places may have similar info sessions as well for their scholarship and bursary applications, so always try to seek that information out when available. When you're writing your essay, make sure to expand on your answers and be very detailed. So when they read these essays, they want to know what area of school you're going into, what are your career aspirations, and a little bit of history about yourself. It just helps them with who they would choose for the scholarship, right? So as much detail as possible will further your chances of receiving that scholarship. Don't leave it to the last minute. So like we've been talking about through this whole workshop, it takes a lot of time to fill out these different applications, especially if you're going to be submitting multiple applications for scholarships and bursaries. So don't leave anything to the last minute, because if you do so, then there's more chance of you leaving out important information, important documents, filling out the application wrong, that kind of thing, and it will just disqualify your application. So have that time to properly fill out the application. And make sure you do your research when you are looking at those different scholarships and bursaries available. There are some great resources out there that are kind of like a database of all the different scholarships and bursaries out there. But it can take a little bit of time to go to those different websites, read through the descriptions, clicking on the different links, that kind of thing. So always do that research to ensure that you are able to apply to as many scholarships you are qualified for as possible. Some challenges when applying for scholarships. Applying for awards is a lot of work, so we like to compare it to a full-time job. When you are paying for your tuition, it can be a couple $1,000s, and if you apply to a lot of different scholarships and bursaries, you're able to potentially get your whole tuition covered just by filling out some applications, as opposed to maybe working a full-time job over the summer for minimum wage, saving up that money to put to your tuition as well. Not saying that that's a bad thing. Those are excellent choices to do when you want to pay for your tuition. We just want to compare the amount of time that you are putting into it, right? So if you're working your whole summer at a full-time job at minimum wage just to pay for your tuition, as opposed to putting a couple hours a week towards these different scholarship bursary applications, it could save you some time, right? Rejection is a possibility. So with certain scholarships, awards, they have a limited amount to give to students. And sometimes these awards get hundreds of applications, right? So just keep in mind that with all the scholarships that you do apply to, sometimes you may not receive it. That's why I always encourage to apply to as many as you can. Because rejection is a possibility. Always remember to step away from the applications and give yourself a break. It can be very overwhelming applying to all these different funding options. So if you think you've reached your limit for the day, step away from the applications, do something that you enjoy. Connect with someone you trust and talk about some of the emotions that you're feeling, especially if you are a first-year student going into university, college for the first time, don't know what to expect, can be very stressful. So if you have that support system you're able to talk to, please use them, because this process is very, very overwhelming. Self-care is very important, so like I said before, do something that you enjoy. So with this presentation, we're going to look at different kinds of award resources and where to look. I did mention in the previous presentation to do lots of research when you're first starting to search for those different scholarships and bursaries available. So with this presentation, hopefully it'll give you a good head start on who to ask and where to look, and those different kind of databases that are super helpful when you're first starting to apply to these different scholarships and bursaries. But getting started, it can be overwhelming and a little bit difficult to manage. So be sure to start planning early and get those documents ready for those different applications. Because along with filling out the application, you do need a couple of different resources, which can include an official or unofficial school transcript, tax information if you are going to apply for a student loan, records of your finances, a resume, a master essay that will focus on your education and career goals, and references, just to name a few. So who can you ask about information on different awards available? The first person that you should be asking is your guidance counselors and visiting your student services at your high school. Guidance counselors will have loads of information about post-secondary schooling, about those different awards, programs, scholarships, bursaries, sponsorships. Part of their job is to look out for you and support you in your post-secondary journey after you're done high school. So make an appointment with your guidance counselor because they will have all that information. And your student services will have all that information as well. So find those faces in your high school and make an appointment. Your post-secondary institution will also have the different scholarships and bursaries as well. Connect with an academic advisor to see what kinds of scholarships that are out there, specifically your student services at your college or university that you plan on attending, because they will also be able to help you with those different services. If maybe you haven't been in school for a couple years and you don't have a guidance counselor, definitely connect with us at Futures Forward. Myself and Sam have loads of information about those different scholarships and bursaries that are available. So make an appointment with us and we will help you with those different funding options. Connect with your family, friends, and support workers. So as much people as you can talk to just about where you can look or if they know of any, because any bits of information can really help. Even if it's one scholarship that they know about, look into it, see if you qualify, if that deadline has come up, and if you're able to submit an application. It's always good to ask, and you never know what other people may have in terms of information about these different subjects, right? And lastly, you should definitely connect with a social worker, support worker, your counselor for this kind of information as well. Next question is, where can I find information on different awards available? So you should start looking at the post-secondary institution you plan on attending. So on their specific websites, they'll have an area that is dedicated to just different kinds of awards that are out there. So there'll be some internal awards, so awards that the university will be giving out, as well as external awards. So awards that are available for everyone to apply to. Your post-secondary institution will have loads of information on their website about that. Check out the website called Scholarship Canada. So what they are is a huge database that collects lots of different scholarships and bursaries available to students. What you would do is make a login account, and the Scholarship Canada will match you with the different scholarships and bursaries that you're able to, or that you're eligible to apply to. So definitely make a login account with them. Again, with us at Futures Forward, we will have loads of information on our website that will have different kinds of bursaries and scholarships, specifically the Advancing Futures Bursary that will be available, as well as our scholarship guide. So a scholarship guide is actually a downloadable PDF that has a collection of different scholarships, bursaries, and sponsorships that you can browse through. There's sections for students who have been in care, there's sections for Indigenous students, and lots of different websites that you can look at. Check out Manitoba Student Aid, because along with the loan, they also will connect you with different grants that you will receive, and with the grants you don't have to pay those back. I'll talk about that in the next couple slides, but Manitoba Student Aid is a great way to get some funding for school. Check out your social media as well. So look at Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Start following those different institutions, organizations, to get all that information about different scholarships that may be available. And last but not least, always do a Google search. So it doesn't hurt to even just search up scholarships available for high school students, scholarships available for students entering engineering, scholarships available for students entering the trades, right? So anything can pop up when you Google search, and that way you can get a wide variety of different scholarships that you can apply to, and it will also lead you to other different scholarships that you haven't been aware of as well. So with Manitoba Student Aid, what it is, it provides provincial and federal student loans as well as grants, awards, and other bursaries. So it's good to apply early to these Manitoba Student Aids. Yeah. Online applications are available now for fall 2021. So usually Manitoba Student Aid applications become available a couple months before you start your term, fall term or winter term. Always double check on their websites to see when you can fill out an application. Current students can apply as long as they have 45 days left in their study period. So if you started school already and you haven't applied for a student loan, you can still apply for one up until 45 days in your study period. So if there's less than 45 days left in your term, then you're not able to apply for a student loan. But if it's before the 45 days, you're still able to apply for a student loan. So with Manitoba Student Aid, you must be a full-time student and then enrolled in at least 9 credit hours per semester or 60% course load. So with college programs, usually college programs are full-time, so you don't really need to worry about that. But in university programs, you have to be in at least 3 courses. 3 courses per term, or at least a 60% course load. But part-time students are still able to apply for a Manitoba student loan. It is just a separate PDF form that you do have to fill out and hand in person, I believe. Loans are interest-free and payments are not required while you are a full-time student, meaning you don't have to pay your student loan while you are in school, but once you have graduated from school, or if you decide to not continue with your studies anymore, so if you're not attending classes anymore, you'll have to start paying back your loan. So some of the required information you'll need when you're applying to Manitoba Student Aid, you will need program and course load information and your previous year's income tax return and bank account information so that they'd be able to transfer the loan into your bank account. A good tip is to keep a record of your Manitoba Student Aid login information, as you will need it to check on the status of your application. So this is the area where you would look to see how much loan you need to owe back. Also, when you do start paying back your loan, you'd be able to see how much it is decreasing and how much you still have left. Here in the right picture over here, it's pretty much an assessment of someone who received a loan from Manitoba Student Aid. They were able to break it down from the award grants that they received and the loan that they received. So on this left column, it says award type, and this person or this student was able to receive a Canada Student Grant and a Canada Student Grant for a person with dependents. So this person is a student who also has children or is also caring for someone. So because of that, they were able to receive a grant. And with grants, you don't have to pay back. Also, they were able to receive a Manitoba bursary as well. So with that, plus the student loans and the Manitoba the Canada Student Loan and a Manitoba Student Loan, they were able to receive 22,307. So with that, they don't have to pay back the grants, but they do have to pay back the loans. Okay, so this is the amount of loan they received, and these are the grants that they received, and this is the bursary that they received. So I did mention a little bit about our scholarship guide. So here, this is how it looks like. That's the front of our 2021 scholarship guide. It's our 10th edition. But what it has is various information about sponsorship options and scholarship options and different kinds of bursary opportunities for youth in care. And there's a section for specifically for Indigenous students. So some of the opportunities that are coming up is the Voices Scholarship, which is due on August 15th, and the ATCO Indigenous Award, which is also due on August 15th. Unfortunately, the Marymount Bursary has passed already, as well as the Helen Bassett Commemorative Student Award. But you can download this guide on our website at futuresforward.ca, and there you'd be able to view all the different scholarships and bursaries that are available and that you can apply to. Always make sure to check those due dates to see if it has passed or not, and to see if you have those, if you are eligible for the scholarship. So now I'm going to just talk briefly a little bit about how to make a master essay. So here I have some fast and easy essay writing tips that you can apply to when you're making your master essay. So tip number 1 is to focus on who you are. So I know a lot of students struggle with how to start with their essay. They don't know where to begin. There's just so much stuff to talk about. So break it down into steps. So when you're first writing your essay, concentrate on who you are. So this can include your name, your age, your identity, location, family, your strengths, and your interests. And you're focusing on at least 200 words in this section. Step 2, you always want to talk about school. So tell them about school. Where are you going to school? What are you taking? Why are you taking this? How long is the program? So just be in as much detail as you can about school. Where are you going? Why do you want to go to that school particularly, right? What is your interest in this program, etc., and etc. Step 3 is to talk about your future goals. So where do you want to work with your education? What impacts do you want to have in your career? What are other goals that you have? And when you are answering these questions, elaborate. Make sure to expand your answer. Go into detail about your future goals. Tell us what you plan to do in the future. What do you aspire to do? Do you want to open up your own business? Do you want to work in the hospitals and support individuals who are sick? Do you want to start teaching in a school? Why do you want to do these things, right? So talk a lot about your future goals, because we want to know, like, we're very, very interested. Step 4 is why you should get the money. So you're filling out these applications so that you would be able to receive this award, right? So why are you special? Why should they choose you? What do you plan on doing with the money? What makes you so different from other applicants? And the last step is your conclusion. So be able to summarize everything that you have talked about in your essay. So for example, I believe I deserve this bursary because, and then you explain why you deserve this bursary. You would look back on some of the things that you said in your essay and make sure to summarize it in your conclusion. I plan to use that money for, and then you would answer that as well. Again, reflecting back to what you have said in your essay. And then I'm grateful your consideration, or something along the lines of that, right? So when you are doing a conclusion, you're basically just summarizing everything that you've said in your essay, making sure to hit up those key points that you want to stand out in your essay, and let the reader, or remind the reader of why they are reading your essay, right? So you can get that scholarship. So within a conclusion, it just ties up everything that you have just mentioned. So that's the end of our scholarships and bursaries workshop. Here I have the contacts of Sam Pothier. She is our AYA case manager at Futures Forward. And here's her phone number and email and Facebook page if ever you wanted to directly message her on Facebook. I also have my contact here. I am the outreach coordinator for Futures Forward. Again, my name is also Sam, so it's hard to forget our names here at Futures Forward because they're both the same. But you can always give me a call, send me an email, or directly message me on Facebook. I also have the contact information for Marie Christian, who's the director at Voices Manitoba. Here's her email, marie@voicesmb.ca, or her Facebook page at Marie and Voices. And Shirley DeLorme Russell, she works at MMF Education, and you can definitely email her at sdelormerussell@mmf.mb.ca. So that's the conclusion of our presentation, or our workshop here. Again, if ever you have any questions at all, feel free to give us a call, send us an email, or directly message us through Facebook, and we will definitely be able to answer you as best as we can.